Hello, everyone. It's Leslie, and I am here at the U.S. Christian Chamber Expo, going to have a conversation with Dawn Sipley. She is the president of Sipley the Best HR consulting firm, the best that I know of.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you, Dawn, for taking a few minutes, because I know you are actually serving all of us that are sponsors here on the expo floor.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. You know, when you're in HR and a national expo comes up, you get voluntold that you'll be in charge of the humans, and it's just such a pleasure to serve Crystal in the chamber by, you know, our amazing volunteers. We can do so much kingdom work when we have awesome people show up who love the Lord. We get some big stuff done.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your leadership and all of that.
Thank you.
And as you know, we're here launching Three Chord Marriage, and our tagline is "In the Fight Together for Victory in Your Marriage." What do you see that, like, what does that mean to you in your space? I know you are a married woman.
Yes.
And then, well, let's start there with your story. Like, how long have you been married?
Yes, so I have been married for 14 years now. I actually met my husband when I was 13 or 14 years old, too young to date. But we did exchange phone numbers and talked, as they say. And then he was my high school prom date, and he signed up for the Air Force and went away, and we didn't see each other for a number of years. Well, come to find out, he never went into the Air Force. He just never called me back to let me know. We bumped into each other 5 years later at a girlfriend's birthday party, and we've been together ever since. So, having lost my mom when I was just 23, one of the things that I mourned the most was my mother would never meet my husband.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so she always liked that country boy Jason, and so I could just hear her in the back of my head, you know, approving of that relationship. So it was something really sweet.
That's special
for us. So yeah, we ran back into one another, and just never said goodbye after
So then
that.
how many years married now?
Yeah, we've been married for 14 years now. We have a daughter together, and she's a freshman in high school, which is absolutely amazing. And then he actually has a son from a previous marriage who I came into his life when he was just 18 months old or so. He was still in diapers. So he really doesn't remember a life before Dawn being in his life. So it's been amazing to be a step parent. I know I've led step parent groups in church, and it's kind of a taboo subject. But it's one that I really enjoy tackling, because there's just so much freedom and strength that you can give behind in a solid marriage to those children who have already been through something traumatic.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
So your mom.
Yeah. I am not a replacement to his biological mother in any way. I had a stepmom in my life who loved me unconditionally and beautifully and very uniquely from my own mother. So I had a very healthy understanding that my relationship with him was going to be really, really special. With him and I have a lot of parallels in our childhood. We both had parents that had a hard time making those decisions, and his mom had some real problems. You know, when I started dating my husband, he was like, "Oh, my ex is crazy," and I was like, "Oh, everybody
goodness.
says that." And you know, I didn't realize the trauma that had been experienced there and things like that. So for my stepson and I, it's super special that I understand what it's like to love someone who doesn't always make the best decisions around your livelihood and safety and best interest, and how that can really hurt your heart on things. So I've always been his ally on things that neither of his biological parents can kind of understand. And so I just really adore that. When he's sick, he calls me. When when it hits the fan, he calls me. And so he knows I'm his ride or die on a lot of things.
Well, the Lord has great plans for him too, right? And you're a part of that plan of being, able to support him in those areas and help him become the man that the Lord intended.
Absolutely. And just to see that there's different types of women in the world, and the variety that the Lord has to offer him. So it's been an honor to play that role in his life, and to love my husband's child really well, and honor him that way, because it was a great loss for him. And a lot of guilt and shame around that. He felt like he had failed. And for me to step in the way that I did, I think brought a little bit of healing,
Well, and that's beautiful. So I'm on the other side. I also am a stepmother.
Okay, great.
But I did not step into that stepmother role.
Oh, interesting. How did you encounter that?
I always pushed my husband, pushed Raymond, go do stuff with him. Go, for them to build the relationship. And I'm really talking about the youngest. And because he was the one who would come over every other weekend and stuff. But I didn't get involved. I felt like I don't want to overstep mom. So I did the opposite, unfortunately. And I know that I created, I don't know, something that he needed. I didn't give him, unfortunately. And in hindsight, I really wish I would have just pressed in and stepped into that role. Yeah. So, the whole thing with you saying it's taboo, so I thank you and I honor you for being able to go and speak in your church and do that ministry, because nobody tells you.
Well, your relationship with him is not over. You'll continue to impact his life. Amen. So you can't discount your relationship just because it wasn't maybe what you would imagine that it could have been, should have been, or something like that. Yeah. I think.
Well, thank you for that, because we do. Yeah, I mean, we're still doing life together, right?
Absolutely.
So I want to also hear your inside expertise just with your experience with HR and what you've done and how you see marriage or family life that maybe is struggling or having a hard time. How have you seen that impact the workplace or even just through employers?
Wow.
I mean,
that
we don't have all day, but let's.
I know I've not been able to pay too much attention in church after a rough Sunday just trying to get to church with the family. I can imagine what it's like to go to work every day when your marriage is falling apart. And I think a lot of small business owners really struggle with understanding what their role is in their employees' lives, especially Christians. We want to be involved, and we want to be there, and we want to be a pillar and supporting, but where's the line of appropriateness in what that is? We certainly can't get ourselves wrapped up in marriages and things like that, but we can bring truth to the table, just as Joshua Washington was saying today. From this stage, there is only one truth, and we need to go to God with those things and find our answers there, and not find our answers in man. And I think too many people sometimes want to be the savior of those things, or fortify them with their opinion, or get on their team or something like that. Just keep pointing, are you doing your devotionals? Are you spending the time with the Lord? Are you listening to worship songs? Are you creating healthy habits and healthy environments? But we can certainly be sensitive to the things that people are going through, and maybe lead with a little bit of grace. Unfortunately, I see a lot of employers that are very quick to terminate as soon as productivity or something gets a little shaky. If there's tardiness or absenteeism or a loss of quality, they don't care what the reason is. They never have that sit-down conversation. They only look at what the results are. So I really try to encourage a lot of businesses, HR, leaders to know their people. They should be knowing when they're going through a storm. They don't need to know the nitty-gritty. Well,
and I'll share just from experience when we were going through the midst of our battle.
Yes.
And I was hurt. Nobody else knew what was going on, of course, in my workplace. And I remember standing there at one point, because I had to stand. So at this point, I think I was standing at my desk. And my boss came and just asked me, like, how long or when's this going to be completed? And
just the last you can take.
I blew up.
You did?
I was just like, do you even know? You don't even know what it takes to get this done, and how much I've been working on it. And like everyone, we were in an open office.
Oh, they were probably shocked. They'd never seen you behave that way.
And I felt awful, and then my boss was like, okay, well, and she just kind of walks off. And I just, hurt people. So
100%.
I know from my experience that it overflows into the workplace.
It does. Yeah. And just to take that pause and then go back, and, so many people, we say sorry a lot, but do we really ask for forgiveness? And so kind of going back, and we're all going to mess up, but how do we make up for those mistakes and those things? And so in those situations, I would probably encourage the leader to pause the moment and then maybe bring you back in and say, how are you? That wasn't like you. I've never seen you like that. Is there anything we can do to support, like how amazing would that have felt in that moment? And then how amazing it would have been for them, to get hey, that was not my norm. That was inappropriate. I do apologize. Will you forgive me for acting out like that? Because I disrespected you in your workplace and you didn't deserve that. It's not you, it's me.
No, it was. And I did have that opportunity. I don't remember who did it first.
Okay, great.
But I remember being in there, and I said to her exactly what you did. It's not you.
Right.
I'm sorry. There are things I'm going through, but it doesn't give me the right.
Right.
To act out that way either. But she gave me grace.
Well, good. As a recruiter, as a headhunter, I talk to a lot of people who are relocating, so it's always funny. I'm like, so what brings you to the area? And it's always, I've either found someone or I'm trying to unfind someone.
Oh, wow.
Because people want fresh starts, fresh changes, they don't want to keep doing the same thing with the same people. So
and that's why we here at Three Core Marriage are here. So you stick with the one that you have found, that the Lord has given you. You don't have to keep going through that same cycle of restarting.
No, because you're always with yourself. You're never running from the source of the problem.
Thank you, Dawn.
Take yourself with you.
Right there. That's 100%.
Yeah.
We need to heal the individual.
Right.
That is within the marriage in order for the marriage to be successful.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you for having me. Absolutely. And, always great to share with another stepmama.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Yeah, absolutely.